I just definitely want to get into this conversation. My first question I would like to ask you is, why did you become an advocate for domestic violence? What's the reason behind that?
Great question. Well, as you may or may not know, as a child, I witnessed my mom boyfriend shooting her multiple times in her head. But before he did that, leading up to that devastating day, he will also beat her. He even beat her with a tire iron one time. And
But I don't mean to break your thought, but let me ask you a question. You said when you were young, how old, at what age were you?
Between the ages of 6 and 7.
Wow.
And I remember that. I'm 57 now.
So you saw your mother's boyfriend
absolutely
shoot your mother at point blank range in the head.
In multiple times, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And can I ask, I don't know if you would really know, but do you know the reason why?
No, not that I don't know. Only thing I know is that he came and he tried to get in the front door, but he couldn't. So to this day, I don't like glass doors or glass on windows because he broke the glass and he came in. And by us just being basically 6 and 5 years old, you're still a baby. You don't know how to defend yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So he came in and he threw her down to the floor and he shot her.
Were you there by yourself?
No, I have a older brother and sister, but I guess we all just really didn't know what to do. Just standing there, kids.
So all three of you all were there, and you witnessed this. All
four of us, yes.
And you witnessed this.
We witnessed this. Nobody told us this. We witnessed this in Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow. So I'm not trying to jump ahead because I definitely want to give you time to talk. But my next question is, the question I want to ask, did you or your siblings suffer any PTSD from this?
Well, honestly, I think my older siblings, because they are older, but especially my older sister, learning, because I've gone through so many trainings and I'm able to identify with them more. I believe my older sister, and she tends to shy away from the family. She doesn't connect with the family because of the situation. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, because I have another question.
Okay.
Well, if she has shied away, is she in a relationship? Has she entered into any relationships? Because I have another question I want to ask about your brother.
Keep them coming. No, yes. As a matter of fact, my sister, at one particular time, she too was in an abusive relationship, and I believe that one of her partners, he burnt her, and yeah. So, the cycle.
What about your brother?
My brother, he's married, but my brother I think he has difficulty coping. So he is in and out of the system a lot.
Wow. So has he shown, because that was one of my questions, has he shown any signs of being a person who was abusive?
Well, we didn't grow up together, but so we didn't grow up together, but my brother, from what I've learned from my brother, he, the same thing that was bestowed on our mother, he tends to inflict that on his wife.
Okay. Yeah. So, because that was one of my questions that I have wanted to ask, and the question was, do you think sons who witness their father, but in this case a boyfriend, commit acts of domestic violence, do they themselves become abusers?
Well, I think we have choices. And I'm gonna kind of like speak for myself. I could choose to be angry, and I could choose to and I could choose to be mad, but I refuse to, because Everybody did not do that. Everybody did not take the life of my mom. Her partner did. You see, so I can live every day mad and I can live every day angry, but I choose every day to make it my business on purpose to be a good person and to break the system. I will not be an abusive lady. I will not be an angry woman. And 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 as far as my brother, I try to talk to him. I want him to break the don't be what society say that just because we live in a household of domestic violence that is going to be bestowed upon us. It doesn't have to be.
Right. So how long was your mother in this relationship with the boyfriend?
Well, yeah. So now I will not know all of that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, but he was, I guess, in there a while.
So, were you ever a victim of domestic violence?
No. And
why is that?
I won't. Well, because I'm not gonna tolerate that. And you know, I would never say never, but I'm not gonna stand for it. Primarily because the home that I grew up in was with my aunt and uncle in Chipley, and they did not conduct themselves as such. And I've been around so many powerful men and women, and you as yourself, preacher, and I'm just I was never abused.
So it's interesting you said that because you did not grow up in an abusive home, even though you witnessed.
I witnessed
it, but you never yourself, as you got older in life, you never yourself, you did not grow up in that. So it seems to give that propensity to think that it's a learned behavior. Domestic violence is a learned behavior. What do you say to that?
I guess most like anything else, in some cases they say it starts from the early childhood, and I believe it can be, but at the same time, I think that it just doesn't have to be. If you are giving the
choice,
you have a choice, and even as with children, you have a choice to color the paper, or you have a choice to color the table or the walls. You see? Does that make sense? We have choices. We really do. And I'm just believe that just because you grow up in a situation, you don't have to become what people say you are.
So as far as the boyfriend, were you ever able to forgive him?
Well, okay, I'm gonna say this. I don't know. I guess I will, but I don't want any conversations with him. I struggle with the fact that how it is that not just for me or for anybody, how God could ordain such pain.
You can't blame stuff like that on God.
No. Well, no, I'm saying I don't. Yeah. I don't. I'm just saying in conversation, I've heard different ones say that nothing happens that God doesn't command.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to why you became an advocate.
Oh, okay. So great question. So as I said, my mom, she lost her life at the hands of domestic violence. And now working with the Head Start program, I encounter so many women and children that are living their, having to live their lives at the hands of domestic violence. And I thought, wow, ding, 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 that's something great that I can do. And there's nothing better in this world that I'm so good at is giving back, being a good servant. I enjoy helping and giving back to people. And this is a way of saying, hey, Mom, I haven't forgotten you. Your life isn't in vain. I remember for each time October comes around, I kind of step back a little bit this year, but I do smaller things on the job, but I really do. If I can just help, one person and their families, I will give them the shirt off of my back. And if just encourage them, say, if they don't have the strength to lead themselves, think about the children.
Give me a success. Do you have a success story? You have any success stories? of some women who you know were
Oh,
victims of domestic violence,
oh,
and through
absolutely.
your counseling, you were able to help them?
We do. We have, I'm partner with the Safe Space Foundation of Miami-Dade County, and we often have we have classes, we have trainings where the women go through and they get their certificates. Many of them have gone to college and they have opened up their restaurants. They become nurses, and a lot of them, because they did not want to continue living here, we send them wherever they needed to go. But a lot of the mothers and their children are very successful. We even have one who's very high with the stock markets, with the up there in New York. So yes, we have a plenty of success stories. Yes.
Awesome.
And that's great. So in essence, even if you are a victim now, you don't have to remain a victim, and then there is success on the other side of that
Absolutely.
experience.
Without a doubt.
That's good to know. That's
Yes.
good to know.
I wanted to ask, can you give some information or give some advice to what are the signs? What are some signs of domestic violence or a violent relationship?
Yes, absolutely. So what we want to encourage teenagers, well, anybody who's dating, to learn the difference between a healthy and a non-healthy relationship.
That's good.
Okay, so if a guy, if your sweetie or whatever is telling you you don't need to call this person, or you don't need to put on this dress, or you don't need to eat this, or why do you have to always go around your family? If they begin to isolate you from your loved ones,
Wow.
that's a red light. Stop.
Even as teenagers. Even as teenagers,
as young as 12 years old. Let's understand this. They are getting victimized. Okay, they're becoming victims. So I encourage families to please talk to each other, talk and know what's going on. Get to know the girl. Now listen, we know that domestic violence is heavy against women, but men are also victims. So I'm not frowning on anybody. Everybody needs to keep their hands to themselves, and we need to learn the difference. If somebody is trying to shame you, put you down in front of people, and especially behind closed doors, we want you all to create a safe plan. If you are living with this individual, especially for a long term, you don't tell the person that you are going to leave, because it can lead to death. Okay, so we don't want that. You create your safety plans. Now, do you need jewelry? Do you need a laptop or whatever? No, you're going to need your social security cards, your children important documentation, as well as yourself.
Just that simple.
It's just that simple. And we'll take care of the rest.
And don't pack the house.
You don't need to pack the house, because we, the foundation, will make sure we create you another safe house.
Do you need money?
No, we are your money. That is why we often we have fundraisers, and a lot of people don't know and don't understand. It takes fundraising. If you have somebody who can just donate, but we have to have fundraisers to be able to keep the shelters and the beddings, to protect, to have open doors for anybody who wants to come in and be safe.
What's the counties that Safe Place covers?
We're all over, but we're going to start from Broward County, Orlando, wherever, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, everywhere.
So you relocate out of town as well?
Absolutely. We have a girlfriend. I won't disclose her name. We took her from Florida to the state of Alabama.
Wow.
We do.
Wow.
We do.
Wow.
Yes. And let me share something with you. Domestic violence is not just people who are poor or who drink. Domestic violence are those who wear suits and ties, and who knows the laws, who knows to behave themselves, but they choose not to. Who can operate on you, or do various things and can articulate very well.
A lot of professionals.
Yes, a lot of professionals. So it's just not those who come from low income families that are committing these crimes. And domestic violence is a crime now. It should have been a long time ago, but it just came really about in the 1970s.
Okay, so what are some of the triggers for domestic violence abusers?
Oh, it ranges. Who knows? It can be if you fish your hair a certain way, or if you didn't say something the way they think you should say, or you could be walking a certain way and they think that you're trying to flirt with somebody,
So would
entice
you say
someone
it's
else.
about control?
Oh, and definitely, yes. We have something that's called power and control. That's definitely what it is, being dominant and controlling over another. And everybody have a right to live free from any type of violence, be that if it's domestic violence, gun violence, any kind of violence. We don't own people. We're not property.
I would assume it first starts verbally, though.
Verbally, yes. Remember when I said, with the isolation, and then it goes to like putting you down and the shaming and just controlling of the money. And that's why a lot of women stay, because they feel like, they don't have enough money to survive for themselves and their children. But one of my main things I really, really try to encourage a woman, you don't have to have a 6-figure job. Just get a job. And you don't have to always have the latest outfit. You must learn to save.
Yes.
Not saying that your relationship is going to end up toxic or in an abusive one, but women need to learn to save, just to have. Don't spend everything.
But what's the number one decision that most DV victims make that will put them in such a volatile situation, such as your mother?
Well, going back, or even when you finally make up your mind to leave that victim, you're announcing it. You shouldn't announce it. You shouldn't. You should just keep quiet, make your move, and be done.
So if the situation is volatile, let's see if I can understand it. And you've got to decision, you may come to the place that you're making the decision, you know what, I need to exit this. Keep that information to yourself. Don't tell anyone.
You need to, only the person, maybe like the law, the police or somebody you can trust. And at that particular time, you really shouldn't just tell your family member, because until you get situated.
That you have left.
Don't discuss that information with anybody, because you just never know. Even though your partner is abusive, somebody in the family might think he's the greatest thing since collard greens and cornbread. So
yeah, we went through that.
We don't want to announce anything. So we want to try to protect the victims. So we encourage them to take whatever they need to take and keep quiet. It's like I often go back to Miss Harriet Tubman. You must move underground quietly.
Now, restraining orders. Yay, nay, maybe.
Restraining orders are good to have in place in the event if you need to go before the judge. But
put this straight. So I want to understand, before you leave, if that's your plan, initiate a restraining order before you leave, or initiate a restraining order after you leave.
Well, both. But a restraining order to me should only be put in place if you're really not going to have any more dealings with that individual. So yeah, I think if your mind is made up and you really don't want to be with that individual, and if he's threatening you, if he's stalking you, please get yourself a restraining order and honor it.
You mentioned the word stalking. Yeah. What are some of the signs that you're being stalked?
Well, telephone calls, or following you on your job, following you anywhere, to grocery stores.
Can you give me an example?
If an abusive person is often calling you with threatening calls, or hanging out in front of your house or across the street, things like that. And just, won't allow you to move from that relationship to another healthy relationship, possibly.
Do you have any other contact resources?
Oh, yeah, we have plenty. We have it in English and Spanish. It's a 24-hour hotline crisis line, 7 days a week. And let me just get that phone number in case somebody wanted. You can call the 24-hour hotline. That's 1-800-500-1119. 1-800-500-1119. We have a safe space north and a safe space south. So, even if you're not a victim, I encourage during the month of October, put on your purple and shine a light on domestic violence. And let's come together and say, hey, we're not going to stand for this as a community anymore.
So I would do a summation of us. Let's say for us, do a summation for us. You are a victim. You're living, whether you're living or not living with an abuser. What would you say to that person right now as far as them making a plan of escape? What's that process is like?
Oh, the process is like, once we go back to the restraining order, you're going to go ahead and they would then the police officer would assign that person to a counselor. And then, you get all the necessary documents, and we then would take care of that individual. If they, really.
You're talking about the victim.
The victim, yeah. You get all the documents, like I said, your Social Security, birth certificate, children information. And then we just got to move them out to a safer place as quickly as possible.
And do the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad.
And you must do the Harriet Tubman on the Underground Railroad and keep quiet about it, because so many victims lose their lives by
trying to escape.
And by, I know the rage, you want to go back and forth with the individual, but it's really not safe. Please, for anything, think about the children. Don't argue with that individual. Just keep quiet and move on.
How many of the victims have said, well, this is the child's father, that's why I'm staying?
Oh, yes. Often. So many times. A lot. You hear that a lot.
And what do you say what's your response to them? Or is there anything you can say to them?
No, because we're advocates. So even though I may not agree with what the victim decision, I have to respect it. But I have to also let them know that we are here for them, and we would never leave when they, when they're ready to leave that situation.
So they might have to be absolutely made up.
Their minds have to absolutely be made up, and that they want to see a change.